Formed in Manchester in 1991 on the back of political unrest brought on by a generation of Conservative dominance fuelled by Margaret Thatcher, Oasis got together when Paul McGuigan asked his friends Liam Gallagher and Paul Bonehead Arthurs to join his band alongside Tony McCarroll on drums. Originally calling themselves Rain, the band played pubs and clubs around Manchester until Liam asked his brother Noel to join the group, which resulted in a name change. Oasis' debut album, Definitely Maybe, proved to be one of the seminal records of the 90s and helped to establish the band as one of the biggest groups in British history. With a catalogue of era-defining anthems, Oasis spoke to a lost generation who really did think that they would live forever. I'm Steve Lamack, and throughout the 90s I had a ringside seat to the drama, euphoria and controversy that surrounded these lower-class dreamers who defined a generation. To mark the band's reunion for the first time in 15 years, Josh and the team spoke to some of the key figures in their story to uncover a tale of brutal sibling rivalry, social change and a sense of forward-thinking nostalgia. So, don't look back in anger. Let's say hello to the rock and roll star as we remember the legacy and phenomenon that was Oasis, exclusively on Beyond the Title.
Writer, broadcaster and acclaimed drummer from Britpop bands Menswear and Montrose Avenue, Matt Everitt first graced the Beyond the Title microphone back in 2023 for our series celebrating 30 years of Britpop. Being involved within the Britpop scene offered Everitt a rare insight into the magic and chaos that surrounded the Gallagher brothers, from just two guys from Manchester to worldwide phenomenon. Then, later, as a broadcaster and radio presenter for Six Music, Matt welcomed Noel to reflect on his musical journey on the successful podcast The First Time. Then, alongside Matt, we welcome back another favourite of the podcast. Growing up in Lee, Lancashire, writer and broadcaster Sean Keaveny explained a similar upbringing as the Gallaghers in the northwest of England. His Six Music tenure made Keaveny one of Britain's most trusted and respected music broadcasters, and his partnership with Matt Everitt became a popular part of the show. Now, as Oasis prepares to reunite for the first time in 15 years, they both return to reflect on the much-anticipated reunion and analyse what this means for the future of the Gallagher brothers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back Matt Everitt and Sean Keaveny.
I'm surprised that anybody was ever surprised. Hang on. Was anybody surprised, Josh, at all? I think I was surprised how long it took. But I see it as, and I bet Matt Everitt would agree with me, it's like a law of physics. If a band gets to a certain size, it's almost like a star collapsing in on itself, or it's like a solar system being created. It's like gravity. Eventually, those disparate parts will come back together if the offer's good enough, or if the egos are big enough. It's, in my view, one of the many reasons why the Smiths never got back together, and they can't now. Andy Rourke has passed away, is because I just don't believe that Johnny Marr's ego is enormous enough. And I mean that in the best possible way. Knowing the guy, he's just too much of a dude. He's like, I'm not going to do that. Don't need to do that. But I think that Noel and Liam, I think that the one thing that they've always put on the front of the tin is they've got very healthy egos. So it was unavoidable, it was inexorable, it was inevitable, as inevitable as death or another Star Wars spin-off. The northwest of England is a hotbed, isn't it? And I think that I'm regurgitating cleverer writers' ideas here, but you've got Liverpool, which is a port city, like London, like Bristol, and all these places. Glasgow, am I right? There's an incoming influence, isn't there? Records coming in from the sailors, the 40s and 50s, and then making the way across. And then, of course, there's the Irish thing, and other immigrant communities. Manchester in particular and the northwest in general, like where I come from, Lee, which is sort of between Liverpool and Manchester. They are vibrant communities of first generation immigrants a lot of the time, and so many Irish, so many Catholics. Again, I'm going to mention Johnny Marr. He talks about it in his book. You know, his mum and dad are direct Irish, and it was all Christmas and birthdays and all this stuff, and christenings and weddings and funerals. Let's all get together and sing. It's tight families. There's competition within big sibling groups, you know, and all that stuff is there for the Gallaghers, isn't it? You've got Paul and Liam and Noel, and you've got sibling rivalry, wibbling rivalry. You've got the Irish mum. You've got burnage. You've got the idea that people need to escape that and transcend their roots. You know, you're talking about two lads who absolutely, like me and my mates and my sort of brother and my uncles, idolised these rock stars for the same reason. They nearly all weren't posh. It's the inverse of now, where you kind of have to be posh to be able to afford to make music. It's tragic. But then it was the opposite. You know, it was like working class communities, that was one way out. And I think that was one of the things that absolutely drove you know, people like the Gallaghers to do it, and they did it. You know, Noel's talked a lot about the classic stuff of Escape, you know, and he's talked a lot about sort of dropping a massive gas pipe on his foot when he was sort of labouring for British Gas and stuff for builders, and then sitting there in a hut giving out hard hats with his acoustic guitar. You know, not many Beatles or members of Oasis as well, or any bands like that, went back to live in Burnage or Dingle after they made a massive pile of money. I live in London, for crying out loud. Though we're sort of exiles, aren't we, in a sense? And I think that's played out in the way that Noel and Liam sort of live. You know, they've sort of like they've made I don't think they ever made any bonds about it. They wanted to get out of Manchester and Burnage in particular, and they wanted to live forever, and they wanted to have the fantastic superstar lifestyle. You know, they never said anything about it. I don't think they ever romanticised Manchester, actually, did they? I don't believe that they ever did. So I think that's quite honest of Noel, actually, as a songwriter. You know what I mean? He didn't write an album called I Heart Manchester. You know, how great is it to be in the north? And then he pissed off to London. He always said he wanted to be on helicopters and that. So fair play to him. Historically, it's not up there with Live Aid, is it? Or Benny Goodman and Billie Holiday, sort of creating a sort of swing, jazz, rock, sort of soul hybrid that begat rock and roll or whatever. But, at the moment, I think it's quite interesting. I think at the moment it's a good moment for Oasis to come back, because at least it's real in a way. At least it's not AI-generated rock and roll. At least it does transcend those fucking algorithms and shit, a little bit. And it's from a time that was before. It's from a time that was before our entire lives were given over to what other people think of us, to what social media is, to mediation to that level. And if these comeback shows can in any way show a glimmer to kids what they're missing, just spending time with algorithms and phones and stuff, maybe Oasis can do a little bit like what they did 30 years ago for guitar shops, which I remember. I was in bands for years before Oasis came along, and I remember sort of dropping my little brother off for his drum lessons around the time that Definitely Maybe came out, and all of a sudden there was this buzz. It had been the dance craze, it had been the hacienda, it had been house music, and everybody was like, oh, nobody cares about guitars anymore. And then it was grunge, and then it was Oasis, and it was like every other fucker's got an Epiphone Les Paul. And I thought, and actually that was a really great time for especially for working class culture. So I'm not going to be cynical about it. You can be cynical about it, and actually I think they have been quite cynical about how much money they've made. I've got to say it. I think they could have done it different. And I know that, divorces are expensive. I should know. And I know everybody needs money in that. And the more money you've got, the more money you need sometimes, and you lose perspective. I do think they were cynical about how much they've charged for everything. But putting that aside, rising above it, it could be a great moment. Or at least a moment, But it's not one of the biggest moments ever. But it's certainly one of the biggest moments this year.
It felt like it was always going to happen, like, but the distance to it happening seemed to sort of increase and decrease over the years. So like for a long time, it's like, oh, it's going to happen, but it could be like generations.
Mm.
Like when the Stone Roses got back together, it was like that took a long time.
Mm.
And so it felt like I think for all the sort of going backwards and forwards of like Liam taking the piss out of Noel and Noel being really dismissive of the whole thing, I think at their core they wanted to do it for the people that brought them their success. They wanted to do
Yeah.
it for their fans. I think that's the thing. And regardless of how big and superstar they are, they are they're pretty solid people, And I think they know that if it wasn't for the people that really bought those records and went to those gigs, they wouldn't be in there. They wouldn't have the life they got today. And I think there's something in them that knew that was it. And I think as well, long answer, there's a sense of it didn't really end properly, did it? It kind of went a bit, and then they had a round. It didn't feel like closure. And maybe some of the records leading up to the end and the gigs weren't maybe at their best. So I think maybe there's a desire to go, let's finish this properly. Let's write our own final chapter and do it in a way that's befitting a band that meant that much to that people that was that big.
Why do you think they decided to do it now?
I don't know. I don't think there was all this talk about, oh, it's, there's a divorce here or there's like a thing there. I don't think I don't think money's nice, clearly, but I don't think it's ever been the big motivational place. They can play like Wembley on their own individually, can't they? I don't think those record sales aren't like
Yeah.
going anywhere. So I think money is clearly a really great thing to have, and I'm sure it's part of the motivation, but it's not the reason. I don't know why now. I don't know. Maybe I think the older you get, I mean, it's older I get, that the older you get, the more you kind of look back fondly on the past, maybe, or you let things just go because life's too fucking short, really, to carry around. You're smiling, Josh. I can see. Yeah, life's too fucking short to like carry that hatred or resentment with you. And if you carry it with you too long, then it kind of becomes part of you, and that's just a waste of being around, isn't it? So I think maybe you just start to look on these things more fondly. And I think they've seen, especially at Liam's gigs, like the generational split is just incredible. There's like all the dads like me and the old blokes and old women. And then there's all the super young kids there. There's like 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, and 19-year-olds who are brought up on it and just love it. A mate of mine took his nephew to a Liam Gallagher gig, and she was really disappointed because he played like lots of Oasis stuff and didn't play the solo stuff because she's been brought up on the solo stuff. She was like, "That's his stuff." He's like, "It's fucking Oasis." So there's a whole generation that have found them later. So I think maybe looking out at those gigs and seeing that and thinking, okay, before the oldies get too old and while the youngsters are still kind of feel young, this is a really good moment. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows their motivation? Maybe there was just a nice phone call.
Obviously, this announcement has sparked a new interest in the Gallaghers, like you're saying, obviously, with the younger kids seeing them solo. And the ongoing saga with Liam and Noel. In your opinion, how significant is the sort of toxic relationship between them and giving them an extra sort of edge to their reputation?
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because every family is crackers, right? And I can speak for myself, and I'm sure both of you. Every family from the outside, you go, oh, like I remember growing up thinking, oh, my family's really weird, and like everyone's fucking nuts, and everyone's relationships are really strange. And all my neighbours, they've got really normal lives. No one's got a normal life. Everybody's family is their own little universe. So I think whatever their thing is, I don't think it's that unusual to them to be like that, to be sort of fractious and have that dynamic. I don't know if toxic's the right word. Um, but it's a fucking complex one, isn't it? It's a very complex relationship to be, and they've both been, and have always been incredibly complimentary about each other, as well as really taking the piss.
Yeah.
There's never been a point where Noel has ever said anything other than he sings songs better than anyone else does and looks better than anyone else does. And Liam has never ever said anything other than like, our kid's the best songwriter in the world. And like they've even when they've been like taking the piss out of each other quite aggressively, that's never changed.
Mm.
So they know that, you know. But fame's weird, isn't it? You know, like fame skews things away from the norm, and any relationship gets, I don't know, gets twisted. So I don't know. I mean, from what I know, everything's going fine. The little I know about the way and this is now what, the 23rd of June, everything's going fine in the camp. Then again, would they tell you, like, would any word get out if they were like tearing strips off each other? Probably not.
Have you ever seen them in the same room?
Yeah, a bunch of times. Like, because I'm fucking old. So I used to go and see them play like the first time round, first album. In fact, before the first album, they played the Astoria, I think, was the one I saw them earliest. I saw them in Bath and a bunch of things. And yeah, there was always a real sort of crackle of excitement because they were so unpredictable. There was always like that sort of energy if they were in the same room together. Even one of them was in the room together, a room on his own at an after show or something. Um, they were quite intimidating to a like 18-year-old drummer in a shit Britpop band to sort of see them, especially Liam, sort of stalking around backstage at a festival. You'd be quite like, okay, hell, there he is. Like, there's a lot of energy coming off, a lot of attitude that isn't even really the word. Like, he prowled around. To this day, he's whenever I see Liam, he's always like, "All right, menswear." Still, to this day, to this fucking day. But he's really sweet, and Noel's really sweet as well. I've never had anything other than like pretty sound interactions with them. You know, they're like cool industry people. Although I do remember going to an after show party once with Sean Keaveny, and we were dancing because we were quite drunk on the dance floor. And Liam reached between Sean's legs and grabbed his balls for no reason at all. So yeah,
He didn't tell him that one.
no, it happened. I was there. I think it was sort of a playful tweak, I think.
What? What's that? Oh, what was it? The left or
I'd have to ask. I could text him. Is it the left, or was it a full? I don't know.
It's got to be the double, surely.
It's got to be yeah, surely. I mean, it was quite quick. I'm sure he didn't have time to pick a wonder ball. I don't know.
Oh, dear. So you and Josh have spoken before about sort of class in Britpop and its generational divide, but growing up in working class Manchester, what do you think set Liam and Noel apart from their Britpop counterparts?
Oh, good question. You're good with the questions, aren't you? There was there was a lot of self-confidence around at the time. Damon was enormously self-confident, um, you know, and with good cause. Lots of the bands were. But I think that they were so unself-conscious. They didn't care. They really, really didn't care. If you listen to those really early interviews, they're not bothered about saying the wrong thing. They're not bothered about like offending anyone or saying anyone's great. There's no when young bands go into an interview or sort of go into a situation, you often say, "Oh, what how should I present myself? What kind of answers should I give? What do I want to give over of myself? Which is all fine. It's really good, you know, strategy to have. It's like, what's the message I'm putting out there? What am I saying about myself? They just didn't care.
Mm.
They didn't care. They were really interested in people, interested in the world, interested in what was going on. They weren't ignorant by any stretch of the imagination. Noel, very savvy. Um, but it's, under it all, I'm sure Noel had a strategy. In fact, there's certain things you see in the history where it shows that they did think a lot about certain aspects of it. Um, but as people, it was just like, yeah, this is just what we do.
Mm.
This is it. This is there is no side, there's no pretension. Um, and that put them apart because, they weren't pretending. There's a lot of pretending in Britpop.
And from a sociological perspective, Oasis taught us all that it didn't matter what your background is, anyone can make music. How do you think this altered the rhetoric of music?
Another good question. Yeah, I think it does. There was a Face magazine cover with Liam on the front, and it said "Sex Beatles," and it's like, that's it. That punk thing that anybody that people I know that I've spoken to that were around in the punk generation said like that. Just it freed you up from any, I don't have to wear a wizard's cape and learn fucking guitar solos that last 20 minutes. I can just go and form a band. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you can't play. I think Oasis showed that it doesn't matter what your background is or the traditional route to, you know, fame. But the thing is that had happened. The Roses had done that, and the Lars had done that. You know, especially the Lars. Actually, both those bands are really important in being proud of where they came from, proud of being Northern. I think people seem more obsessed with the fact they came from Manchester than they did. They're very proud of it, but it wasn't like, you know, it's all
Yeah.
about the North. It wasn't. It was just about them, who they were. I don't think that they saw themselves as a local band ever. So yeah, I think it meant that you didn't have to be. I mean, Liam was beautiful. He is a very handsome man, but like you don't have to be conventionally like handsome to be in a band. You don't have to like be a virtuoso. Um, it did unfortunately inspire a bunch of bands who went, no, just play really basic songs and swagger. It's like, no, you're shit. But there's always been that stuff, hasn't there?
Yeah.
There's always been that stuff.
Do you remember the first time you met Oasis, sort of where you were and how it came about?
First time I met them, so yeah, I think it was the NME Brat Awards in like '94 or something. I think I first met them. Might have been in the toilet, might have been. Uh, and yeah, and they were like, it was Noel initially, and he's always like, he's very dry, he's very funny. He's a decent person. He's not argumentative or shitty, or not in my experience. Um, yeah. So then you just sort of see them at stuff or whatever and exchange pleasantries. But then yeah, as you get on a bit and doing the job I do interviewing people, you sort of find yourself interviewing people once a year or once every couple of years or whatever. So you sort of like build up a sort of a slight familiarity with that person
Yeah.
as you know. It's a bit of a bland answer. I've just always found them really easy to get on with. It's really nice, really easy company. Very honest when they, still to this day, if you ask them a question, they'll answer it. They won't be looking for you know, the way out. And they're funny as well, especially Liam. Noel tells a great story. Noel's a great raconteur. He does love to sit and like tell you a story. Whereas Liam's just like off the bat, fucking funny, mad funny, like fucking daft funny. So they're quite different in that respect, but they're both very, very amusing people. Yeah, I wish I could say, you know, oh yeah, we had a fucking fight or whatever, and no, never. It was really nice.
Um, it's obvious that none of the protagonists of Britpop acknowledged it as a concept. Therefore, how did menswear feel about these poster boys who had dominated the music industry?
How did we feel? How did menswear feel about Oasis? Well, I mean, we, they were there first as well. They started to happen before we did. So we always felt a bit. Oh, I did feel a bit like an interloper anyway. But Yeah, they were kind of happening. I do remember seeing them because sometimes you go and see them live and they'd be shit. This is people forget this. It's like sometimes Liam's voice would be terrible. They wouldn't be in tune. They'd be just like really slovenly
Yeah.
sometimes early on, because they were still getting good. You know, everyone like not every gig from a legendary band is legendary. And I remember seeing them early on a couple of times, just thinking that was just fucking terrible. And then once or twice you'd see them early on and just go, "Oh fucking hell, that was so something happened." And I remember hearing Supersonic for the first time in a nightclub, and everyone just, I don't know, just picked up their pints, and everyone was just, this is just such an affirmation of being at that age,
Yeah. Yeah.
being in a place with your friends, and like, and you feel great, you feel supersonic, and it's just you're with your people, and life is happening around you, and you're part of something, even in the smallest way. I think we talked about that. One of the nice things about Britpop as opposed to pulp, as opposed to punk was probably so localized around maybe London and maybe a bit in Manchester, whereas Britpop happened everywhere, thanks to TV and thanks to the music press and thanks to the information spreading around even pre-internet. So like Britpop happened in Leeds and Cardiff and Nottingham and wherever, whereas punk didn't. So it felt like when those songs hit, they hit everywhere to lots of people of the same generation. I definitely felt Definitely remember hearing that. And you're just jealous as well. Oh, it sounds a bit like T-Rex. It's this shit. You're thinking, it doesn't matter. It sounds like T-Rex. It's fucking brilliant. And then, like, I remember hearing Wonderwall and just thinking, oh, fucking hell, that's just brilliant. I
Yeah.
just can't. What can you do with a song that good? You can't get shitty about it, can you? So jealous, mainly. Jealous and intimidated, I think, was meant to wear stance.
And it was everywhere. And it was everywhere.
Yeah. I was just going to say it was. I mean, it does once again. Oh God, it's so difficult. I don't want to sound like one of those old dudes talking about the '60s on telly, but like you would go past builders' yards, and they'd just be playing
Yeah. Yeah.
all of what's the story? Not so much definitely maybe what's the story, and you go to a party, and someone just put it on, and you just play the whole thing for 40 minutes, then someone would put it on again, and that's it was everywhere, even not just the radio or like TV, but it was omnipresent and withstood it. Withstood it really well. I
Mm.
went back and listened to those two records quite recently to see how they sounded. And familiarity has dulled them a little bit, just because you know them. Not dulled them, but they still sound ferocious.
Yeah.
And the songwriting sounds so easy
Mm.
to write songs like that, and it's fucking not. Or else everybody would have done it.
Yeah. Why do you think going back to the Nebworth gig, why do you think the Nebworth gig has gained such legendary status?
I was smashed, so I just had a very good time. That was my memory of it. I got a taxi. Me and a mate couldn't get home, so we got a black cab back to London. No idea how we paid for that or where the black cab came from. Um, it's the coming together, isn't it? It's the coming together of your people again. It's one thing thinking, oh, this is my band, it's my friend's bands, or it's our little gang's band, and maybe there's a little gang. Then you just get amidst that volume of people for 2 nights,
Yeah.
and everybody's there on the same place, everything the same plane, and the supports were incredible. Support bands were brilliant. Weather was great, you know, and they played phenomenally well. They were just there was like they lifted, and probably people were quite high as well. Both
Yeah.
of us. I would know about that.
Were there any other memorable gigs that you think helped them create more of an enigma around them?
Um, it's a weird thing, isn't it? Yeah, because like they're very much a band of the people. They look like their fans. Their fans look like them, but they still have that kind of enigma around them.
Mm.
That's interesting, but I don't know how they managed to cultivate that. I saw them at Earl's Court. They were really good. I saw them later on and saw some. They played at Wembley late in their career, I think, for Standing on the Shoulder of Giants, and it wasn't good. So I saw them be good and be bad, but it always felt exciting.
Yeah.
It never felt boring. You know, it never felt predictable. I think that was the thing that was maybe most exciting them for me is that you'd go in to see them perform and you never knew what was going to happen. There'd probably been some argy-bargy the day before, or there'd been a story in the press, or someone had got arrested or smashed up a car or something. So when they came on, you were like, well, are they all going to be here for a start? Are they going to make it on stage? Will they be able to sing? Is anyone going to be shit-faced? Are they going to play another brand new song out of the blue that turns out to be a classic? I don't know. You didn't know what was going to happen. And with these shows, I think that shifted because you know what's going to happen. You know it's going to be those dudes, those men going and playing those songs, and they'll play them really well. So you know that that's kind of predictable, really, and you know the sound will be good and the lights will be good. But the unpredictable thing is how people are going to react. You know it's going to be special.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Well, what when all those people get together in their presence, the combustible nature, and I don't mean like in terms of violence, I mean in terms of just like how it's going to feel in that stadium. That's the unpredictable bit that I think is really fucking exciting. When I saw Blur at Wembley summer, summer before, what was similar? I think it's like where you knew Blur were going to go out and you knew they were going to play great and you knew it's going to be those four men and their band and their supporting musicians playing those songs brilliantly. But the nostalgia in the best possible way that occurred during those shows. I don't know if you've seen, there's a really good documentary about them.
Yeah.
And like how visibly moved the band are and the audience are there going, oh, this is my life. They are playing the songs that have soundtracked my life, and also I'm here with my kids maybe, and all that means, and the connection and joy that the band's given us and we've given the band. That nostalgic thing was just so powerful. Nobody was expecting that. Everyone wants to jump up and down the park life, but no one knows if you're going to be hit with this. It's my life. I'm looking at my whole life up to this point. Fuck. Oh. So I don't know what Oasis is going to be. If it's just going to be like people are going to feel 19 again, or whether they're going to be so worshipful, or whether they're just going to be shit-faced. I don't know what it's going to be like in that room. I have no idea in that stadium. And it'll happen every night. I don't think it's going to get boring. I think that what that room will be like, that's exciting, isn't it? You know?
When I saw William Gallagher about Sally,
When he saw Liam Gallagher 5 years ago, he cried.
Yeah. It's kind of brilliant that it can still listen. I mean, that's why we do it. That's why you talk to musicians. It's why I talk to musicians, because it's like it's why we listen to music. It's really powerful. It's a powerful thing. And yeah, I don't blame you. It's going to be the other thing, going on a tangent, just because this is the other thing I'm fascinated in with this, is the amount of pressure that Oasis are under. Now we're really used to seeing them like barrel through, like in every possible situation. We're fucking great, we're great, right? That's how you think about them. They're not a band of self-doubt, are they? You've never seen like Liam go, I don't really know like if I'm gonna be able to connect with the audience, or whether my songs have got. That's never fucking happened before, and will never happen. But they know what they have to deliver on people's expectations, and that level of fucking pressure must be phenomenal. And even Liam and Noel must be lying in bed at night, you know, in the coming weeks, going, "Fuck, this is. They've really got to. I can't mess this up. I can't. Even them." And to see is a human experience. Seeing people about to go through that and walk on stage every night of this tour, carrying that with them, that's kind of fascinating, isn't it? You know, that's human drama.
but you must never see Liam on movie.
You would never see Liam on.
Hey,
Oh, on Piers Morgan.
No, that's it. Like that's it. If there's no, it comes back to what we said at the start about them just being very instinctive people. You know, in the same way. I mean, and this is in the same way as the Beatles were very instinctive. They were very much themselves. They they
Yeah.
did they did what they felt. They
Yeah.
pursued, yeah, they pursued the creative direction that they just wanted to. They didn't think it. They didn't think, well, people think we're cool if we do that. The Beatles just did it.
Mm.
And that became inherently cool because it was being done in a very real way, instinctive way. And I think Oasis have got that. That yeah, they're never going to go on life stories, are they?
And going back to Blur, Blur versus Oasis has always been an interesting concept from an anthropological point of view, with art students from London versus lower class dropouts from Manchester. How do you think this contrast reflected where Britain was in the 90s?
Well, I'm not. I think I'm probably not the right person to ask because I come from the Midlands. So fuck the Northerners, fuck the Southerners, you're all wankers. The Midlands, the Midlanders are the coolest people. Um, and I didn't. I spent more time growing up in this, spending time socializing of my youth in the South than the North. So I wouldn't really know. But I mean, it did. There's always been, it's Britain. The fucking class divide
Mm.
is drawn under broadly geographical terms, lines. Sorry, and has always been. Thus, I think Oasis were first the Hacienda, and then Oasis were instrumental in making Manchester into the fucking amazing city it is now. I think the investment that's been put into the city, it's a phenomenal place. It's always been a great place, always, but now it feels it's just firing on all cylinders. So, but yeah, like how many like northern super successful northern politicians in power have you witnessed? It's not very many, are there? Let's be honest. So that
Don't look cool.
Except John Prescott.
Yeah, exactly. And he was great. Like, so this is it. So how is the government going to have any understanding? How is any government going to have any correct understanding of the disparate nature of this country if your whole fucking party are career professional musicians who went from a posh university straight into a fucking political job?
Yeah.
Like, fuck them. That's not, so of course there's always been a misunderstanding and a condescension of people up north from people down south. Arseholes, you know. Um, so yeah, so I think it was funny. I remember my little bit, maybe the generation a bit younger than me. My friends were a bit younger. Like so many kids from sort of college in London all had to go to university in Manchester. Kind of, oh yeah, and going to Manchester to go and like hang out. Common people, isn't it? You know what I mean? That happened a lot where Londoners would go to Manchester to go and like get some grit because they realised like that's where the real people were, for want of a better phrase. Um, yeah. Does it still matter? Yeah, it does. There's more money down south than there is up north and in the Midlands. Okay, we've got to have a capital city. Well, that's what capital cities are. But I think, HS2 has gone well, hasn't it? That's really benefited everybody. I mean, fucking come on. Jesus Christ. So yeah, it was was that battle? It was easy in the midst of that real battle that was going on about socio-economic disparity to put like a little Blur flag and an Oasis flag on top of that and make it easier and fun to
Yeah.
digest. Whereas actually it was more fucking important than that and more damaging than that. But it's not as easy to give a front cover of the Sun to, you know, 18-year-olds in fucking Salford have got no job opportunities, no social mobility, fuck all money, and you know, and it's damaging the whole of the country as a result. And another nice boy gets to go to Surrey and go to fucking university in Bath. That's not a front cover. Blur versus Oasis is, I
Yeah.
guess.
The it's time.
Do you think it's changed since then in terms of the divide?
I
What?
don't know. I don't know. HS2, in many ways, no. Many ways, like I'd like to think it's got better. You know, Manchester's firing,
Mm.
Liverpool's doing good, lots of it. Birmingham's fucked as
Yeah.
a city. So like, there's Nottingham's not doing great. So yeah, I think well, as we know, the gaps between the haves and the have not is widening on a fucking minute by minute basis. So no, I don't think it's got better actually. I think it's got worse.
Mm. In 2015, Noel Gallagher was a guest on your popular podcast, The First Time.
That he
At this
was.
point, could you ever see a reconciliation between him and Liam?
I must have asked him about it. Um, it's yeah. I still think it was always going to happen, but like, there was a thing where like Liam started to actively say, "I'll do it. I'll just do it. I'll
Yeah.
do it. I'll just do it." And I think I don't think it's also that there's a point. This is coming back to them being instinctive when everyone's saying, "Oh, just please do it. Go on, please. It would be great." And the management are going, "We can do this. We can do it in the way that you want. Well, if we do it now, we can get these venues for this long." And maybe your kids are going like, "Oh, come on, Dad, it'll be amazing." And your brother's going like, "I'll fucking do it." She's got to pick up the phone. If you don't do it, you start to look like a bit of a dick, don't you? There's a point when you're like, "Oh, I know we also get grumpier as we get older. And Noel certainly has his curmudgeonly moments, but I think there's a point when you just got to be like, "Oh, fine, right, I'll do it," or else you're that dick at the party going, "No,
Yeah.
no," you know. And he's not a dick. I think maybe that's something to do with it. He's just realization of like, I'll bring a lot of joy, and to not do it would be, if I for Noel to say like, if I was an Oasis fan, what would I want? I'd want them to go and do it once
Yeah.
more. That's why he's doing it, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, he will ever do anything. Okay.
Do you think they'll ever do an interview together?
They're going to do fuck all before the gigs. I'd be very, very surprised if they did anything. Why do it?
Yeah.
Why? Why? I mean, they kind of stopped doing interviews together quite early anyway, because just turned into a right old argy bargy, didn't it?
Yeah.
Um, Also, yeah, like why risk if you found a truce where like it's working, everyone's happy, they're playing well, singing well, fans are getting what they deserve and what they paid for, and we've got a whole summer of tours and into next year around the world. You know, why do an interview that could potentially sabotage that? What's the point? What do you gain from it? What, you're going to get more famous? No. As famous as you can possibly be. You'll sell more tickets? No, you're not. Like, you sold all the tickets there are. You make more money? You've got the fucking money. What do you benefit? What do you benefit from doing an interview? What would be interesting would be the very first words they say on stage. That's going to be interesting when they walk out in Cardiff on the 4th or whatever it is. Everyone will be waiting for them to say something.
Yeah.
It's like, do they play 2 or 3 songs before they say hello? Do they come out and go, "All right, dickheads"? Like you just don't know. You just don't know. My prediction is like they come on, they say nothing, they do 2 songs. Liam makes a fucking daft comment and then play another couple of songs. Then Noel says something. He plays it a bit low key, but I can't see them. Why would you do an interview? I think they're going to do it really closed set. I don't think there'll be some big parties after shows, but I don't think they'll hobnob with any, even people that they like and they respect, like Stephen Joe. I don't think they're going to do it. I mean, at some point, it's like I like that picture of like Noel going to rehearsal on the fucking tube the other day when he just sort of sat there, like getting the tube rehearsals, which I quite like. So at some point, some member of the public's going to go, "Oh," with a fucking phone or something, and they'll get something. Because I don't think either Liam or Noel would be like, so shitty as to ignore people that are talking to them. But maybe they'll just avoid putting themselves in those situations. What's nothing but grief if you talk, I
Yeah.
think just
Yeah.
just avoid it. And it's the mystique again, isn't it?
Yeah. In terms of musical landmarks, Where would you put Oasis's return in order of significance to pop culture?
It's a biggie.
Hmm.
It's a real biggie. We do tend to think of, you know, Woodstock,
Yeah.
Beatles' final gig, you know. There's there's not many. Is it like when you got through and it's like it's on the news. It's like
Yeah.
on BBC News.
Yeah.
Blur versus Oasis was one of those. You know, maybe Adele when she was just like absolutely just the biggest thing on the planet, and she's won 28 fucking Grammys.
Mm.
Fuck, there's some of those. It's a really big thing. It's cross generational. It's huge. I mean, this is a big, big story for so many people because it speaks to your past, speaks to the present, speaks to the next generation. Um, yeah, it's got to be up there. It's up there like music. Let's just bear with me 1 second, caller. I wonder what the most. I'm not using AI, by the way. Most important moments in music history. Let's have a look. Uh,
Is it live?
okay,
It'll be up there.
Live Aid. Yeah, Live Aid. It's not Live Aid. Beatles and Ed Sullivan, Woodstock, Michael Jackson's Moonwalk, Nirvana on MTV Unplugged. Probably bigger than that.
Yeah.
Johnny Cash that falls from prison with hindsight. I mean, yeah, maybe it's like top five. Maybe it is. Maybe it's top five. It's huge. It's a really big deal. People will be talking about this for a long time.
Yeah.
And for he who Morgan yeah that what we grew up with.
For people of his generation, that's who they grew up with.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah, that's it. That's it. Like, and eventually the old stuff does fade away. It just does. Like, you know, um, Woodstock doesn't really matter to people in like it used to my parents' generation. It represented so much, but and it's obviously a really important thing. But things become historical, like they're matters of interest rather than matters of emotion. And when the generation that didn't feel it kind of passes on or gets to a certain point, then the emotional importance of those things get lost unless someone's constantly talking about them. So Oasis feels very fresh and emotional. Live Aid for me, I can remember that being a huge emotional deal. But at some point, like the people like me that will talk about it, it'll stop.
Mm.
People that people it will add a bit. It's yeah, things get calcified, don't they? Things get become sort of set in stone and a bit dusty, and they become not vibrant. Whereas this still feels very vibrant.
Yeah.
Now, these are Josh's words, not mine, but
Here we go.
do you think they'll fuck it up?
That's a good question, and comes back to the pressure thing.
Mm.
No, I think I think they'll do a really good job. I think there's too much at stake for lots of reasons. I mean, there's the fans' expectations every night,
Yeah.
every night. There's the money. There'll be a lot of insurance on this gig as well. No one's going to pull out. Liam knows to look after his voice. He can't. His voice sounds great past couple of years. It was a bit patchy, wasn't it, a while before that? But it sounds great at the moment. So he's looking after his voice. He knows he's got to deliver. Musically, they're all good. They're the musicians for the job. Got a new drummer. You know, they can deliver it. It's not like they've got to go out and execute highly superbly technical performances, but they've got to feel on it and in that moment,
Mm.
and they will. I think they'll do it. Also, they'll come out and the audience reaction will be so fucking fun. It'll be like a jet plane taking off,
Yeah.
and I think that will infuse everything they do with an energy that will feel pretty special. I mean, I hope they don't fuck it up. Liam's voice is the thing that I'd be worried about. I'm sure he's going to take care of it.
Well, when we spoke to and we see the thing a lot of like um, um, in the relation you know.
When he spoke to Emma B, she said there's been a lot of like rifts and tension in their relationships in the past, so you never know.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, yeah. I mean, it would take a lot to let that many people down. I
Yeah,
think, like when Pink Floyd got back together to do Live 8, like they all turned up in separate helicopters. I think when the Sex Pistols toured back when it was the original lineup, they traveled in separate ways. They didn't see each other
yeah,
until they walked on stage. And then when you walk on stage, everything's fucking great because everyone's going nuts. It's like, hey, everyone's saying I'm amazing. So, I think and they've got smart management, and they're going to be very aware of, diffusing any potential situations that might lead to aggro. And they're older now. It's fucking exhausting, fucking fighting and arguing, isn't it? Like, get to a certain point.
Yeah,
I mean, you
very
know.
much more.
they might break a hip instead
I
of
mean, yeah, this is it. Yeah, it might be. It might be back problems. I've spoken to a few older bands who've got back together, and they're like, "Oh yeah, the fucking insurance on, like, we all have to have a medical before a big tour. It's like their back's fucked, your knees gone. Seriously, it's a real thing. It's a real thing."
How has this announcement changed the narrative of Britpop?
Hmm. It's brought it back to the present. I mean, the 90s was turning into the 60s in terms of the way people regarded it. That was happening anyway. But this really does. This is now sort of secured the 90s as the great cultural, musical, artistic, creative decade in our memory.
Yeah,
You know, um, it's really solidified that concept. God help us. Um, you know, we won't be talking about this about the 2010s. It's just
no.
not, or the 2020s. So it's done that. Um, I don't know. I don't know. It's Britpop's a weird thing, isn't it? Because it was never really one thing anyway. It's just a bunch of bands who are all having their moment, buoyed up by creative. Um, you know, labels had lots of money, so there was lots of new stuff happening, and of the oceans of new stuff, there was some brilliant stuff there, and it all kind of came to the fore in a similar time. So I don't know about, like, I don't know. Well, people will hold them in even more affection. I
Mm,
think people really appreciate the fact that they're doing it. I think, if you really think about, there was all the hoo-ha about the tickets. It was quite a big story, but, like, hasn't killed any enthusiasm. There's been no backlash.
no.
No one's giving any tickets back. Um, I think people really appreciate the fact that they're doing it. There's a lot of love there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, ben, I am from the phone.
For the tickets. He spent an hour on the phone for the
Yeah,
ticket.
I,
Fuck.
8 hours on the phone for the tickets.
Fucking hell. Did you get one?
You get one?
yeah.
No.
No. Oh, I wish I could help. They're not like, unlike other gigs, they're not tossing out
No.
loads of cheap tickets or loads of guest list tickets.
Yeah.
They're just keeping it pretty locked down. It's quite a wise thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so last question. What's the legacy of Oasis?
Ooh, fucking hell. I mean, Noel's written some songs that will be around forever.
Mm,
That's just great. They're songs that speak to especially British people in a way that we emotionally respond to. They've got fans all over the world, but yeah, there's that a certain hope and humor and arrogance and defiance and, you know, British romance, I guess, that the best of his songs deliver, that really do sum up a whole part of what we are as a nation. Not that I'm a nationalist, but there's I'm proud of so much of what this country's achieved creatively. And I think, yeah, he has, in the same ways, there's a few, the Beatles have done it, Prodigy did it, Radiohead do it in a slightly different way. Certain people are part of what it means to be us,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think they are,
Mm.
and off the back of that kind of emotional wellspring that happened after Acid House, especially for men, when like feelings got opened up and you were able to be more emotive and hug your mate. I think off the back of that, they have provided one of the, I don't know, strands of DNA in what it is to be British is to understand why Oasis are so loved, and even if you don't like them, I challenge you. If you, I don't like Oasis, fine, it's okay, not to, but that stand at an anniversary or a wedding or a little band doing a covers set, and they do, Live Forever or Don't Look Back in Anger. If you're not moved by that, even if you don't like the music, if you're not moved by what other people feel about those songs, then you're fucking dead inside.
Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe that's it.
there was a band playing at the Isle of Wight Festival last night, a little tribute band played Don't Look Back in Anger, and it was everyone there was just all in unison and loving it, and it was a special moment, yeah.
Yeah, and that's not even them doing it.
No, exactly, yeah,
You're sharing something, and yeah, when these reunion shows and they can't get everyone in, but I think we all feel like we're all of one mind. I think a little
yeah.
bit.
But he come room even wrong in reality to the
People that were born in the 90s still weren't born in the 90s still love all the songs and what
Yeah.
everything.
Screw those young people. Screw them. They're too young. They've got too much to
That's
life.
me. That's me.
Fuck you
Can't say
all,
that.
kids. No. It's that's kind of nice, isn't it? That there's, and I like it when you see that kind of generational thing,
Yeah.
and it's a little bit, what do you do in the war, Dad? But it does feel nice that that it's still got power, like the Blair thing I said. It's still got power that is not just about what us old fuckers were doing in 95 and 96. What we were responding to still feels powerful today when taken out of the context and taken out of all those things and taken out, it's not being played on every radio station. It's not on every magazine cover anymore, but you're still finding it and thinking it's great, you guys. So feels pretty cool, right?
And whenever I hear some to no, always hate me, but the time in my life.
When he hears Champagne Supernova, always takes him back to that period in his life when he hears Champagne Supernova.
Yeah, it does. I know there's I don't know which is the songs for me. Maybe it's Champagne Supernova, I don't know. 'Cause it's weird, isn't it? Because they're not the most, incredibly insightful or philosophical lyrics. They're not. That's why they speak to so many people. And you put your own feelings on them, don't you? Your own meaning stuff, which is great. Um, yeah, I'm trying to work out which song's going to make me cry. Probably Wonderwall. I'll probably have a bit of a weep to that because I'll think about a specific time.
When when I saw you to live forever me wrong.
And when he saw Liam do Live Forever, it made him cry.
Yeah, I think actually, yeah, maybe Live Forever's the one. Maybe you're right. Because, we don't. But sometimes we feel like we could, you know. Yeah, maybe that's the one, actually. Yeah, that's the one. I think that's the one. That would take me back to a nightclub in like October 1994, surrounded by my friends, having like the best time and the optimism and the like, yeah, of that track. Oh, emotional stuff.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's exactly what it's all about. It's exactly that's it. It's about feelings, all about the feels. Yeah, it's gonna be. I'll be at Cardiff the first show because I'm working for the BBC, doing some reports and stuff. So it's going to be quite interesting, feeling the build up to that and then being there that day.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Pretty excited.
Oh, you, oh, you, one,
The one at Wembley. Are you going to the one at Wembley?
I'm going to one of them at Wembley as well. That one will be going for fun
Okay.
because at the Cardiff one, I won't be. I'll be working, so I'll be like the only sober person in Cardiff. Everyone else will be out of their mind, and I'll be like this. Yes, hello. I'm going to the television in a minute. But that's okay. An honour to be there, isn't it? Really.
So will it be broadcasted?
No, the gig's not going to be broadcast. No, no, no. They'll be doing like loads of interviews with people around and all that kind of thing and sort of talking about it. But as far as I know, I think that's probably more pressure than the band needs to broadcast their very first gig live.
Yeah.
I'm interested in what's going that they're going to have to do some warm-up show of some form, aren't they?
You think?
Like, 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 surely, because doing it in a rehearsal studio, even in front of your friends or like doing a closed set thing, it's one thing, but it's not like getting an audience in there and when like getting the set right. But I don't know. Sunrises did it, didn't they? They did like a warm-up show and kind of did some European stuff to get ready. So I assume they've got to do that, but when? They haven't got much time. If I was them, here's the thing: if I was them, I'd do something next Saturday in the middle of Glastonbury when everyone's looking the other way at Glastonbury. I'd do a little show somewhere in Manchester. Like, don't tell anyone about it. Just do it, and yeah, to get the feel for it.
They might be only
There might be the supporting guest at Glastonbury.
Oh, no way. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. They've never had a good Glastonbury, Oasis. They've never done a good Glastonbury. Every time they played, it's always been a bit flat. Don't know why. It's just not their place. Funnily, I've seen Liam be good there and Noel be good there, but I've never seen Oasis be good. Don't know why. Just not their thing, I guess. Different vibes.
what did you so
What do you think the future holds for Liam and Noel?
Go on holiday. They'll have a big holiday. They'll get this run of shows done.
Yeah.
And then they'll disappear for a bit, and then they'll come back, and I think they'll do Nebworth. I think they'll do four Nebworths because they can, and then they'll disappear for a bit, and then they'll be back to doing solo records. I would imagine. I can't see them stopping working.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to think, and I think it's going to happen. Noel's music's going to get weirder the older he gets. I think he's always been a bit of a psychedelic motherfucker around the edges. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to find out, won't it? I don't think this will be an ongoing concern. I reckon this is it. There'll be 18 months, whatever. Nebworth, and then that's the end of the story. That's how you close it out, isn't it?
Yeah.
is that it for Oasis?
Is that it for Oasis then from there?
Yeah. I think it is. I don't see why you'd go into the studio and record anything, because like the Stone Roses tried to do it, and they went and they did a couple of songs, and they did more, and the sessions were just aborted because they just couldn't get it right. I think there's a moment when you're like in that place where you're writing songs that are just the best you can write them, and that's when that moment's passed, it's very difficult to go back to it. So and anything they put out, anything that wasn't better than anything they'd ever done would be seen as being a disappointment, which is not fair for any musician. So I don't think they'd do it. Don't see why. You know.
Do you also think that if they were to put something out, the demand for them to carry on touring as a duo would rise? Because
I don't think it's also it's different, isn't it? You know, we don't really have the charts. I mean, we have got music charts. Does it really matter what's number one? Does number one really mean anything anymore? Like, how do you define a hit single?
yeah,
Kind of don't really have that anymore, do we? You know, have like, you know, artists have like moments that might last weeks or whatever, or maybe a couple of months if you're Charlie XCX. Like have a thing that's happening around you, and culturally is that's telly and socials and interviews and collaborations. That's kind of how you quantify something being successful now, isn't it? And streams. So I don't see how a band like that could do something like that again. So why put a single out? It would just be a single, and it would be great, but it wouldn't change the cultural conversation for 6 months. It would just be like, oh, he's done a single. Oh, here it is. I've listened to it now. Oh, that's good.
yeah,
On to the next thing. It would be over. You know?
Yeah. You've caused a lot of relief so
you've tied up really well what everyone else we've spoken to about has said.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's going to be good, or it's going to be shit. If it's shit, it'll be interesting. I don't think it will be. It can't be. Can't be shit. Can't be shit.
Thank you very much.
Oh, pleasure, mate. It's always nice to speak to you.
Thanks so much to all our contributors who took part in this Oasis special. If you like this episode, then why not browse the Beyond the Title back catalogue on the website or on Spotify. We've done series on Britpop, radio and BBC Television Centre, which might be of interest. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on X and Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube to receive updates on forthcoming content. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.